I'm not sure how Leslie started this, and because we're doing it a little differently today, because this is episode number 23 of Exploring Genuine Transformation. And this is a show that I've been doing for about 6 months where I interview different healers, coaches, thought leaders, teachers, all in the realm of transformation, all on a range of topics. But at the heart of this inquiry is transformation for the sake of having more of yourself, for the sake of more freedom, more awakening, more intimacy with life in whatever way that that is for you and that lights you up. So I'm really excited to be interviewing Leslie today. Leslie Grace. Obviously, we're on her page, so so
Welcome to my
you can
page.
so you can see that her full name and who she is. Um, so yeah, and I've known Leslie for many years, in both knowing her as a colleague and as a friend and in kind of our larger social world. And I'm really excited to be interviewing her today. I love the realm of uh, like all the different ways that Leslie embodies herself and embodies life and how that comes through her work. And so, Leslie, if you don't know her, is a sex and intimacy coach and healer and a psychedelic integration guide. And she will speak more about those specific work as we go along in the interview. She combines Hakomi, which she has studied extensively, with all kinds of other healing modalities and ways of being with clients in her work. And we are going to be exploring today healing through expanded consciousness. So, looking at all the different ways that healing can happen through expanding our consciousness and how we even expand our consciousness in the first place, and how that can happen through a lot of different healing realms. So this should be a really fun and juicy conversation. So I'm really happy to be here with you, Leslie.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Glad to
and
be here. Thanks for inviting me.
yeah, cool. So what would be great to start with is you describing a little bit more in depth the work that you do with clients
Hmm.
and how that maybe even relates to expanded consciousness.
Right. Um, well, so I feel like um, so many people in our culture are carrying around just so much wounding, so much shutdown from our whole lives, just everything we've been carrying. And one of the reasons why I've been so passionate around working with sexuality has been because I feel like our sexual energy is one of our most powerful resources in creating transformation in our lives. And by getting that sexual energy flowing and activated and really nourishing our systems and really nourishing our relationships, I feel like it just helps to move through so much stagnation and stuckness, insecurity. It connects with so much of our feelings of lack of love or I'm not enough, right? And so being able to move through those places and activate that energy seems like to me it's one of the best ways that we can actually bring ourselves more
Mm,
alive and more passionate about what we're doing and more in touch with ourselves and more in touch with those around us. So working with sexuality has been, I think, one of the most key ways that I have sort of transformed my own life and that I feel passionate around helping other
mm-hmm,
people transform theirs. So
mm-hmm,
so I have been working with individuals and couples around just helping to understand how they can create a new relationship with their sexuality, within their relationship or just within their connection with their own life, their own body. Um, so much of that revolves around releasing trauma, releasing blocks or limiting beliefs, and learning to relate with sexuality as a real force of good, a real force of beauty in their lives. So it can seem so easy for people to get kind of stuck in a certain rut of thinking about, they have to be a certain kind of person, or they have to express themselves in a certain kind of way, or in their relationship this is how they have to do things, and just really helping people break out of that particular box and think in a fresh way about how their sexuality can be this force of healing and beauty in their lives.
Yeah, and on that front, that's that part of your work. On that front, I'm curious also that, like, when you speak about sort of working with trauma or stuck places, I know that you're actually working with people kind of in their bodies to release those
Much,
traumas in those places. Yeah.
Yeah, right. So I do coaching work as well as hands-on massage work that both are really involved in helping get at like what is underneath this person's like what's really needs to be released from the deepest level so that they can have that flow in their life. They can have that aliveness, that pleasure, the love, the connection to self, the creativity. So with the coaching, I definitely use a lot of Hakomi and the somatic psychotherapy training that I've had that really helps people get at like where are they holding these tensions in the body, where are they contracting around these belief systems, and how's that get kind of stuck like in the soma, and instead start to release that like from the emotional level through Hakomi, and then through the body work side of things, it's really about getting the person really into an altered state of consciousness on the table while they're really tuned into their body, they're tuned into their energy, into their breath, and then working with their sexual energy to actually release the blocks that are there and let those emotions come out and let the memories surface. And so it's there can be some really powerful states that people can shed layers and really discover new dimensions of themselves.
Beautiful. And then on the psychedelic integration guide aspect, can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah,
What
totally.
the work
I
is
mean,
that you do
so
there?
I guess like for myself, I've been working with expanded states of consciousness in my own healing for the last 10 years. And it's actually one of the reasons why I went into sexuality work in the first place, was because I had a really powerful awakening experience with ayahuasca, where I felt my sexual energy, this eros, just like pure life force, just flowing in my system and just opening and cascading through my being, and realizing like, oh wow, there's a lot more to this. And I personally have just benefited so much from altered states of consciousness. So it's a real joy to get to support people in sort of learning how they can use these tools to really benefit their lives and really break through the. I mean, it seems like there's so much is just like about the mental barrier, like our frontal cortex kind of just stays online to keep everything and status quo, keep everything stuck as it is. And what I personally love about the beauty of working with medicines and different kinds of altered states is that it like gets underneath that layer, so that the body starts to heal itself, starts to release those blocks, starts to release the energy that's stuck, and to make more room for the beauty, for the insights, for the love to flow. So getting so Hakomi was part of my training to learn how to support people in really making sense of how they can access these states in a way that can be really beneficial for their life.
Beautiful. And I mean, what's so beautiful about everything that you just said is that like whether you're doing it through the body, through like helping people to get deeper into, let's say, blocks in the body, and through breath, or through like their kind of sexual energy, or doing it through a medicine, it's all kind of like I can see, I mean, I can see the connection between them, because all of it is helping people to kind of be more in their bodies and be more in that uninhibited state, so that they can actually, and if there is trauma in the body, or if there are blocks, then the inhibitions of our usual, conscious mind or defensive system or ego kind of get they get sort of put aside. And so then it
Yeah.
allows people to actually be able to begin to access, whether it's pain or pleasure,
Right.
or
Right.
old wounds or traumas. Like it allows people to access it all in a safe space, and begin
Right.
to actually work with it and experience it. Yeah.
Yeah, people ask me like if I'm going to do a yoni massage session, say with a woman who has trauma in her past, and she may ask me something like, "Well, so is it going to be like I'm going to finally get to tap into pleasure and I'm going to feel good in my body, like for once and for all, finally?" And I'm like, "Well, maybe, but we
Mm-hmm.
might have
Mm-hmm.
to go down like into the depths first. We may have to go
Mm-hmm.
into
Mm-hmm.
the dark places, the places of pain, the memories. We may have to go back down in there
Mm-hmm.
first and kind of let those places start to unravel, shine some light there and let those blocks come out of the body, and then we get to make more room for the joy and the pleasure and the opening. And same is true with working with psychedelics. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
people have this idea like, oh, I want to take something and I'm going to feel God, I'm going to feel bliss, I'm going to feel ecstasy, and that's really not how it is. It's kind of more like, okay, well, let's see what's in the way of that bliss and that joy and that love being a part of your everyday life.
Mm-hmm.
So again, like with
Mm-hmm.
both, it's like this shamanic
Mm-hmm.
journey down into where are the stuck places and how can we be with them in a way that lets them unfold on their own.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Beautiful. And that process, what I really love about your work is that it's sort of happening in the body and in the moment to moment. It's an unfolding that doesn't come from the mind, even though there might be memory that comes, or there might be, you know,
Yeah.
there might be certain thoughts that come, but it's sort of bypassing all of that and actually being in a lived experience of pain, potentially of pain and heartache and difficulty, but also
Mm-hmm.
that I know that like in my work, it's like when we can get to those places and actually feel them and experience them, they're not as scary as
They're
they
not as
seem.
scary.
But yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And then learning how to be with them is what transmutes them and transforms them into, other states of ecstasy or pleasure. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I feel so honored really to get to support people in these ways
Mm-hmm.
because, there has to be a lot of trust there. There has to be a
Mm-hmm.
lot of trust within themselves and trust within our
Mm-hmm.
therapeutic dynamic for them to really like let me see all of the
Mm-hmm.
dark, difficult, all the insecurities, all the pain, and like they really have to have this deep sense of trust in the container and trust in the process, like trust that like
Mm-hmm.
that going there really is going to be good for them. And I know that
Mm-hmm.
that's difficult for some people to believe at times, or like, oh, like I have to feel all this, like can I just be
Mm-hmm.
done with it already? And
Mm-hmm.
like they want to just move past it, and like, yeah, we all want to get past it, but what if we just stay a little longer? What if we just slow
Mm-hmm.
down and like give it time and bring this quality of gentleness to it, bring this quality
Mm-hmm.
of loving presence to it? How does it change? How does it
Mm-hmm.
open?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so this brings up a curiosity for me around kind of how you assess clients who come to you and their level of readiness for such a
Mm-hmm.
process, and also the process that you take them through, obviously, in both that assessment and in the integration piece, right? I mean, with both
Yeah.
with both kinds of work, wow,
Right.
okay, there
Right.
are these defenses, and maybe when we go into this deep place, those defenses are going to go away, but then for the moment, but then
Mm-hmm.
they're going to come back with full force, or then there's going to be kind of an
Mm-hmm.
opening that, am I
Mm-hmm.
ready for, or is the client ready for? Mm-hmm.
Right, right. So I have to, I'd say on both fronts, there's really this sense of this work being a warrior's path of like we have to go into the heart of the matter. And if somebody is really wanting to sort of just put a band-aid on a situation, and I've been having all this, pain during sex, and I know it's probably related to this, experience I had in the past, but I really just want to, move through the pain and be able to have regular sex with my husband and not, just, I've already talked a lot about it in therapy. I don't really want to go there anymore. I just want to start to feel better. I'm like, I'm not sure I can help you because, you know, the way through to the opening is like through whatever is still stuck, and we can't just bypass it. You know, we got to go through it. So if I hear someone is like, okay, wow, I've been in therapy for years. I've tried talking about it. I've tried this, that. I've tried ignoring it, and it's really time to deal with it now. And I really want to go there, and I know it's really time for me to go there. Then I'm like, okay, we can go together. But I'm not, you know, I'm not here to just put a band-aid on a situation for someone, or, you know, or just have them like power through something and just, I mean, with the sexuality work with couples who are having trouble kind of syncing up or feeling aligned, a lot of times, especially the woman in a relationship can often feel a sense of pressure, like she has to like force herself to be somewhere she's not. And I think one of the biggest ways that I help to make change for people is by sort of like slowing the whole process down and saying like, okay, wait, let's take a step back, and what really is happening here, and we're not going to override the wisdom of your body right now. We're actually going to slow down and make sure that you are learning how to listen to it and stay in touch with it, and that actually you and your partner are going to really want to hear what your body has to say, right? That this could be the doorway to the most fulfilling, beautiful lovemaking of your life if you're no longer willing to just like kind of bulldoze over what your body's trying to tell you. So reframing, like, what is our intention here? Where are we trying to get to? What is the goal, right? And making that goal actually about teaching someone how to listen to themselves on a deeper level, like that's my goal. Right? I'm not worried about the sex part. Like it'll come when it comes. You know, it's like I'm more worried about like, are you listening, and are you both like willing to slow down enough to be with that truth as it's unfolding? Because that's where all the juiciness is. That's where all like the real life force is wanting to flow. So, and same with the psychedelic work. It's like if someone's just, oh, I have this depression, I have this thing, I just want to feel good, right? And we're not going to just bypass into the beauty. We're gonna have to go and face it all. And so where there's that willingness, that's what I need to see, and like a real sense of a realistic understanding of what it entails.
Beautiful. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I'm guessing that you're also sort of assessing sort of people's, to some degree, like it's both their willingness and readiness, but also their, like looking at some of their defenses, or seeing like, okay, you know, do they have a realistic assessment of like, okay, these, you might go into this and these defenses that you have, you know, might completely break down, and that might scare you after. Because I think after, sometimes people, right? I mean, there is the experience of going somewhere and then feeling very opened and very raw, and not necessarily having the tools or the skills, which is where I'm guessing that you continue to work with somebody to really help them to develop those resources. And
yeah, definitely. Well, and I think that again, that the body is really intelligent, and usually it doesn't take someone somewhere that they're not ready to go. And so I think that there is kind of this built-in sort of safety mechanism around, like if we set up a container well, if we, like in my massage sessions, for example, the client is completely in control of where we go, you know, what happens. Like we're not, like nothing needs to go faster than exactly where they're ready to go. So so it may be that, you know, I'm doing some work with a woman who, you know, we don't, you know, it takes 3 sessions before we even get to the yoni itself, right? And that's just perfect. So so the real, I mean, and Hakomi has a strong value in nonviolence, in not pushing. Like we're not trying to like break through anything. We're not trying to get to some big catharsis. Because yeah, okay, you might get that catharsis, but if the person's not ready for it, then they're not gonna, it's not gonna stick. It's not gonna really create the opening that they need. So so much of all of this work is around listening and going slowly. And then, yeah, like supporting, you know, whatever does unfold, because it might be challenging. It might be really, might open up a whole Pandora's box of emotions that the client wasn't even aware was there. And so, whatever ongoing support is needed to really help someone make sense of what they tapped into, and what does that mean now for their life, and what they do with that information.
Yeah, I think it's really great that I know some about Hakomi, and I think it's really great that that's one of the frames that you have, because of working slowly, right, and not going past those defenses, and really listening to what the client's saying, or even what they're not saying, but what the body's saying, and being able to slow it down and say, okay, well, this is where we are right now. And I love also that you're talking about this kind of slowness, because what you're really teaching people through that, which I think is like one of the most healing things, right, is both that deep listening, but also intimacy. It's like, that's where it's at. It's in the heart of the moment. It's not in like what you said about sex, right? It's not in the like, oh my God, we had this like crazy mind-blowing sex. It's like, there might, like, the deepest intimacy might be in that place of pain that two partners share in the moment, and that there's some kind of unfurling or unfolding in, between them, right? So also to not have any expectation, and to me, that is the heart of intimacy. It's like, and vulnerability, and like the allowance of the moment, that.
Well, because where are we trying to get to? We're trying to get out there somewhere? Like the real life, my real life is over there somewhere. Like, no, it's like right here, and coming back to it. And, beginner's mind.
And I mean, this is, your work is in some ways similar to mine, although I go at it in a different way, but I do go at it through the body, but also that those painful places can actually begin to be those pleasurable places, right? And that's also the heart of, that's the heart of non-dual spiritual practice as well. But it's like that can really truly happen through the body. We can't be in the mind, doesn't really do that. But if you're actually able to penetrate into a direct experience of whatever is happening, and really meet that, then there's that can be experienced as this kind of ecstasy.
I mean, pain can be quite ecstatic, for sure. It's all about how much are we resisting our experience, how much are we holding fear around what we might see if we go into that dark place, or but I feel like this path is, there's two sides of the same coin. There's like the healing side of things, where it's around digging in and finding the blocks and letting them unfurl, and letting the emotions surface, and it's this healing of the past, healing the blocks. And then there's the awakening dimension of opening up into greater pleasure, opening up into greater awareness and love, and like that we weave back and forth. It's like, oh, some days we're having a like deep healing day, all this stuff is unfurling, and then that feels so much better. I get to have all this fresh life over here on the other side of that. And I think, what I try to tell all my clients is like, it's not going to happen overnight. It's not like bada bing, bada boom. You have like 2 sessions and boom, all that trauma is cleared, and you're just feeling like unicorns and rainbows all the time. Or, our clients think like, oh, I'm just going to do, a couple journeys, and I'm just going to feel like everything's shifted. I'm like, well, maybe it'll be just like dig you a little deeper into like, oh wow, I didn't realize how much there was down this particular rabbit hole of emotion. It's like all of it is layers of an onion. It's like you just peel one layer and there's going to be something else. So it's more like, how do we get comfortable with the process and just being with like wherever we're at, and like enjoying the rainbows when they come, and then saying, okay, yes, great, another layer to dig into, and that's time. So
well, it's both that there is a to some degree, I think what you're saying is like there is a goal of obviously, deeper healing, which can create deeper expansiveness and openness. And there's also being where you are and really learning how to, dive deeply into that moment, which is what I think is so beautiful about, your emphasis on slowness and really like being with every step of the process, because it's also a way of living, right? Like that's actually what you're teaching. It's not just like, oh, we're healing, it's like actually like, how do you meet life on life's terms? Like, how do you meet the moment?
Well, and and a lot of this I've been learning through my own trials
Yeah.
and tribulations, and like, oh, I just want to get to where I'm feeling positive and sparkly
Yeah.
all the time. It's like, nope, it cycles, baby,
Mm-hmm.
all the time. So,
Yeah.
it's like I'm learning to have greater
Mm.
compassion for myself too, and
Mm. Mm-hmm.
seeing that like, okay, like I can't just be in a hurry to like get rid of this one layer of my process because like there will be more. It's just like relax, let it take
Yeah.
the time it needs, and
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's all of life. Like that's being with everything. I mean, that's what's and develop. I mean, I do think it's developing that muscle, to show up for everything and meet it, which is
Mm-hmm.
like one of the most important. I think one of the most important things. One
And
of the
we're
most
practicing, right?
aspects of being human. Yeah.
Yeah.
One curiosity that I also have, sorry, it's coming through, is that I know that yes, you're working as like a sex and intimacy coach and healer, and I'd love for you to speak to the side of that is not necessarily about what we would think of as sex and intimacy, because I think that through the realm of working, like let's say you're doing a yoni massage or you're doing something where you're opening channels of the body, there's also other kinds of healing states that can come through, right? That like aren't just about sex. They might be about that kind of life force energy finally moving through. But could you speak a little bit to that?
Other kinds of healing.
Well, I'm because I know a little bit about the work that you do, and I think that it seems. Tell me if I'm right or wrong. Maybe I'm off here, but it seems like in doing the sexuality work and even in the body, it's not only about like, oh, now I can experience better sex or more intimacy with my partner. It seems like
Yeah, I
through
mean,
the
this is
actual hands-on work, there's release and healing that happens that actually might have nothing to do with
totally
sexuality per se.
right. I mean, my mind goes in a few different directions. One, this sexuality is so deeply personal. It's so woven into our sense of ourselves, who we are, how we express, our passion in the world. Um, and so, for example, I might get a female client who is going through a divorce, hasn't been enjoying a healthy sexual connection for some time now, and she's sort of trying to get out there dating again, and sort of wants to rediscover herself. She's like, who am I as a sexual being? She may not have any trauma in her past. She may not have any physical pain or any issues around sex per se, but she may just be in a place where she's like, who is this new me? Like, who am I? What am I desiring?
Mm-hmm.
What am I wanting to create for myself? What kind of relationship do I see myself in? So it's like so much about helping someone to discover their own like new sexual identity, which like we go through chapters, we go through phases. What used to work for you in the past might not work for you anymore. And so for her, it may not be about releasing trauma or this or that. It may be about rediscovering like, how does this energy want to move in her life? What does it inspire her to do? What is it,
Mm-hmm.
how does she wish to share it with others? What is meaningful for her around her sexual life, and how she wants to pursue it. So it's so much around the sense of self, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And who am I as a being, and hey, maybe I'm not really partnered, or even that interested in dating. I got a lot going on in my life. I'm working on my career, and I'm just wanting to really channel my sexual energy for my creativity, for my
Mm-hmm.
painting, for my dance. I want to just let that energy flow in a way. Oh, I'm really just liking spending a lot of time in the woods these days, and like this, my self-care is really involves this nourishing my own sensuality. It's really about me, right? So yeah, there's so many different directions it can go in. Um,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and it's sort of endless. I mean, everyone's expression of it is so unique. So it's
Mm-hmm.
beautiful just to see how everyone's journey with it is completely different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was a beautiful example. And what I'm getting from that is that it's like your sort of sexual energy or, healing that and opening that kind of energy it's the energy of the universe. Like it's that kind of, it may be that fire, maybe that water, maybe whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and that it's like you're tapping into each of your clients, and it's like, yeah, how do they want to use that energy in their life?
Mm-hmm.
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 Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then, like, as you were talking before around, like in a massage session, for example, there may be, you know, blocks and traumas and things like that that come out for that person. But there can also be like just a lot of other kinds of emotions that need to flow. So I know personally, whenever I receive yoni massage, oftentimes I will just be sobbing, kind of like
Mm-hmm.
uncontrollably around like pain of the world stuff. Like,
Mm-hmm.
climate change is just like stuck in my yoni. It just is like this, you know, like
Mm-hmm.
feeling of like a lack of safety in life, or like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, dissatisfaction with, you know, economic disparity, or like just like not feeling like we're in right relationship with the earth, or, you know, whatever. It's
Mm-hmm.
like we can like deeply hold these like grief and sadness just in the body. And so it's just another like release mechanism. It's just another way of like letting go and shedding that. And so I oftentimes find myself crying about all manner of things that aren't
Mm-hmm.
related to sex at all.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a beautiful example of what I was kind of what my question was and what I was sensing into,
Yeah.
and just, yeah, like what, like all matter, like you're saying, all matters of things being possible
Mm-hmm.
when we, you know, also when we're in the body and when we're feeling the
Yeah.
body from the inside out, you know,
Right.
whether it's in a
Right.
yoni massage or some kind of other touch, or
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
or sense, you know, even doing more like exploration of our our sensations, you know, and our emotions in the body.
I'm really grateful that the world is getting tuned into the whole somatic
Mm-hmm.
therapy dimension, that like we're starting to move beyond just traditional talk therapy, because I think plenty of people have done a lot of that, you know, a
Yeah.
fair amount of talking, blah
Mm-hmm.
blah blah, talkity talk, this is what I think about it, okay, and I can understand it, and I can like make sense of it, and I can, you know, oh, somebody's heard me now, good, they've heard me. And that can be very helpful on a number of levels. But it's like, if there's not the capacity to actually go in and feel like, wow, how have I been carrying that?
Mm-hmm.
How is that experience really touching me and shaping who I am on a day-to-day basis in this very visceral way? Like, again, and like you were talking earlier about this quality of intimacy, like intimacy with the self, intimacy with the moment. It's like so much around how can we slow down enough to sense like, how has that really been encoded into my physical structure? Like, how am I carrying that
Yeah.
into every interaction that I have? And
Yeah. That was, yeah. It's a great way of saying that. Yeah, I too am very excited that things have been moving more in the somatic direction in terms of healing and therapy. And I mean, I would even say in terms of spiritual practice, you know, that yeah, that it's like we're living in these bodies, and it's like we can feel even the vastness of life like through the body, you know.
yeah.
So,
Mm-hmm. 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 And
well,
likewise
oh,
for and likewise for the psychedelic work, I mean, people who often find themselves drawn to it are people who have really tried a lot of different things to
yeah.
work through their issues, to move through depression, anxiety, addictions, and you know, the all the regular methods just haven't been that successful, just haven't gotten them that far. And they're like, I know I'm needing change on a deeper level, but usually people just don't know how to even access the level at where those things are stuck at. Like they just can't, they can't just like think themselves to going there. It's like it's almost like we've lost, and our culture has lost touch with like, how do you go inward in that way? How do you go into the depths of where those knots are being held in the body, in the psyche? Like, how do you even reach those places? Because we're so like, we just keep popping up to the surface to think about and like, you know, analyze and worry about. And most people on their own just, you know, don't have a method of dropping under the surface and going deep enough to even touch where the core is. And so I think that that's one of the reasons why psychedelic therapy has become so much more popular, is that people are realizing like, oh, this is a way for me to take that part of my brain offline that's been kind of keeping me in the swirl of it, and instead, like, how do I get down and like really pull the roots from the situation?
Yeah. Hmm.
And
Yeah, and I mean, I've known people who have done psychedelic work after, like, knowing that there's a trauma and that they've been dissociated from it, like they didn't actually even remember it, but knew that it was there, and all kinds of, even trying different somatic methods like EMDR and somatic experiencing, like wouldn't get to it, but
mm-hmm.
then the psychedelic work allowed for, like, you know, those barriers to be brought down so that they could actually remember, you know, and come back
Mm-hmm.
and associate back to those parts of the body. So it seems like there's also that kind of, I don't want to say that's a mystery, because I'm sure that that happens all the time, but that, you know, there are places inside of ourselves that, because of a lifetime of trauma that hasn't been dealt with, or defensive systems, like we don't even know are there. So I'm sure, I'm
Oh yeah.
guessing that you kind of find that in your work with psychedelic integration. Yeah.
Totally. I was talking to one client who was, he was planning to do a session, a psychedelic session. He was planning to do one, and Ken came to me with this, like, oh yeah, but there's really not, there's really not much. And, so I asked him, well, what are your reasons for wanting to do it? Like, is there anything that you're dealing with that's been challenging for you in your life? Do you have, any history of depression, anxiety, and he's like, oh, no, no, no. I just don't really feel a whole lot going on. I just don't, I'm mostly like an upbeat person. I just don't have a whole lot, I don't feel a lot of sadness and so so I started to ask him more about his past. Like, well, how's your relationship with your mom? Or, oh, what was it like with your dad growing up? And, oh, well, there was this thing, and oh yeah, oh, my mom was like, oh, and my dad, oh, this, and then, oh, there was deaths in the family, and oh, that relative was really sick, we had to, oh, and then there was this, and then my best friend in college also died when I was, and I was like, oh my, as he was just listing like one thing after the next, and and he would say he wasn't really that troubled by any of this, he just didn't feel anything, right? He was just completely cut off from it and numb from it. So so there can be a lot that's in there that may not be impacting somebody on a daily basis. Like, they're not like ruminating about it or depressed about it all the time, but it's like very much keeping them from, like, he felt this, like, there's lack of being fully engaged with life. He just wasn't really in touch with life. He was kind of just like behind this like hazy glass wall, that he just wasn't really in touch with his feelings about anything, positive or negative. And so I think you're right. There's a lot in there that people may not know about, or know even
well, and that situation such a great one, because there's, I mean, he was at least in touch with the fact that there was some sense of disconnect, or he wanted to be experiencing something different. But I think there are many people who don't even have any clue, because their range of emotion, right, or feeling is so low, is so little. And so they're just, there might be a sense of emptiness or deadness or something, and maybe they feel it sometimes and maybe they don't. But even in his case, like, I imagine that if he were to do this kind of work, and maybe he did, that it would open him to a place of like, whoa, I never, like, both feeling the challenging places that he was not feeling, but also like what's available when you've, like, if he's been feeling this much and then he can feel this much, like, what's the experience of life then? It's like such a vastly different experience.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why the integration is so important, is because then, like, he's got to go back to his job on Monday, and feeling a lot more, feeling, greater, like, expanding the bandwidth of what he can tune into in himself and in his connections, and how does he live now, as somebody who has more access. So in fact, he did end up doing a session, and then as I talked to him after the fact, getting to really see, like, wow, he uncovered a lot. He felt more than he had, in a long time. He, cried for the first time in years, and it also sort of surprised him that, like, oh, this is all just in there, and I just never really knew it. Or and this was also someone who, like, that kind of flatness, emotional flatness, had really come out in his relationship. So he has been in a, series of shorter relationships, and all of which he, really cared for the person, but like just didn't feel that deeply, and sort of like, well, should I be feeling more? And I mean, yet to be seen exactly how this shift might impact his relationship moving forward. But certainly there's that, part of why I love the sexuality work and this integration work as well, is around like, if people are able to feel and understand more of who they are, then they are able to feel and understand their partner much more deeply, and that connection gets to be so much richer when there is that self-awareness. Like, self-awareness is maybe one of the most sexy qualities that I find in a human, is like, wow, when someone's really tuned into themselves, then I'm like, wow, then they're gonna feel me like acutely, delicately, all these subtle layers, right? They're not gonna be afraid to go into all that with me, and like, that's where all the juice of the magic is. So all of, like, I love how all these worlds intertwine. Like, it's all so related.
Yeah. Well, that was a really great example, I think, at the end. I love what you just said too, that, combining it like both with, okay, how do I then, like, how does this man then get to experience life, but also then how does he get to experience his relationships and his intimate relationship, and then how that, opens up space for way deeper intimacy between him and his partner, and her feeling really felt, right? And then her being able to feel him more. And I mean, just like how that exponentially,
Right.
moves out and impacts so many, like all the lives that he touches, and
well, and I think that everyone that goes, I mean, I've luckily, I get a lot of clients just find me, through the internet and just apply to work with me that way. But I also get a lot of referrals from people who have worked with me before, because they feel like, oh wow, this was so helpful, and I want my my friend to come get to experience this. Or I've worked with folks in the integration work who have then said like, oh, I want my dad to learn about this stuff, or I want my mom to learn about this stuff, and like, oh, it'd be so good for sunset. And it's it's beautiful to see that, like, everyone wanting to sort of share the benefit and share that opening, because everybody needs it.
So beautiful.
I don't think there's anyone that doesn't benefit from working on these areas of their life. So
yeah, absolutely. Well, I think also my sense is that, and this can happen through other types of somatic work as well, but my sense is that because you're supporting people to get to, you said it at the beginning, to get to the root, but also that in a short period of time, somebody can experience a new, like they can experience more feeling, they can experience kind of a more subtle sensation or emotion, like that things open up, and that it can happen so much more quickly, obviously, than things that are like talk therapy, right? Or where you're not kind of like really entering into the body. I mean, I think that's the magic of, I love that you're integrating both the hands-on sexuality work with the psychedelic integration work, because both of those things to me are probably the two things that can, like the most direct routes, right, to that, to really experiencing something new and experiencing like a shift that, because it's not in the mind, and it, like, it's like you can't ever go back then, right? It's like, oh yeah, now I've experienced this, like now I have more feeling, or now I'm experiencing this juiciness, or yeah,
and it's actually okay, even if like during a session, if a shift is happening for someone, if emotions are pouring out, if energy is flowing through them in a new way, if they're, it doesn't actually matter if they understand what's going on or not.
Yeah.
It's like they're just having the direct experience of it. They're just feeling themselves in a new terrain. It's like they don't have to get it. and it's kind of, it's this sort of like beautiful, mysterious process too. Like, I love that now we have, I know there is like the science coming behind all this stuff, but I mean, this was like shamanic witchy work for eons, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Right? It's true. Yeah.
Like a modern sexy psychedelic witch. It's so sort of great. I'm like, yay.
That suits you. That's good.
Yeah.
Seems perfect. Well, it feels like this is probably a good place to end. I really appreciate everything that you've shared today and kind of the range, and also that you gave so many client examples. I think it's just so helpful
Mhm.
to kind of ground that into, grounding the work into actual people that
Real
you've worked
people,
with and real people.
real
And
everyday people with real challenges.
yeah, yeah. And then, and how that process can even be for people, I think that you really
Yeah.
gave you gave viewers a sense of like, my sense is that you gave them a sense of what it actually might be like to do this work. Obviously, not,
Mhm.
not the play by play, moment by moment,
It
but
will be different for
um,
everyone.
yeah, it will be different. Yeah. And that's maybe the biggest takeaway, that actually there's a lot that we
Yeah,
have no idea.
yeah, and I'm just so grateful that I've chosen a career path that's just sort of endlessly fascinating. I mean,
Yeah.
people with all their challenges, their desires,
Hmm.
their hopes and dreams, their shadows, like I just get to
Yeah.
like keep following them wherever they go. And it's amazing for me, like in the years that I've been
Yeah.
doing all this, just like how it keeps
Mm.
shifting and shifting all the time. And then as I'm doing my
Mm.
own work, then
Mm.
I'm meeting them in a deeper place all the time. And it's just
Mm.
it's a real joy.
Yeah.
It's a real
Yeah.
it feels like a gift to me.
Mm.
I learned so much from the experience as well. So
Yeah. Mm. Mm. Well, so lovely, and thank you for being on the show and sharing
my
your
pleasure.
wisdom and your magic. Yeah.
My
So I
pleasure.
would
Love
love
it.
for people to. This is on your page, but there may be some people watching who don't know you. Hopefully, there are. And so I would
Yeah.
love for people to know how to follow you, connect with you, what kinds of programs or sessions you do, offerings that
Yeah,
you
totally.
do. Hmm.
Right. So, if anyone's interested in finding out more about any of these topics, I'd love to just be in touch by people can go to my website at lesliegracetantra.com and fill out on the contact me. We can do a consultation call and just get to see, where are you at? What are you looking for? What are you hoping to create some shift around in your life and help connect you with the right resources and you'll see whether it's something you want to do individually or with your partner. Or, there's a lot of different ways to work.
Hmm.
So it's
Mm.
beautiful the range that's available and then I also
Mm.
offer classes through Ritual Tantra as my group, and so there's a Ritual Tantra Facebook group, and also ritualtantra.com is you can go and sign up for the newsletter. I'm going to be doing a couples weekend over Valentine's weekend. So
Mm.
there'll be
Mm.
something on the Friday night, the 14th, and then the 15th, 16th, all day
Mm.
immersion
Mm.
for couples. So looking forward to
Mhm.
that.
Beautiful. And I highly recommend Leslie's work. I think it came through, in this conversation, the sort of depth and beauty of her work. And I can just say personally, I did a session with her. It might have been many years ago now, and it was just
Probably
even
like
in one
3 years.
session,
Yeah,
maybe 3 years. Yeah.
maybe
Even
three.
in one session, it was really powerful, and it opened up, a lot of stuck places for me, and I got to experience exactly what she's been talking about, just a deeper realm of healing and also of feeling. So yeah, I just
Mm-hmm.
personally recommend Leslie. Can't recommend Leslie's work enough. Um,
Oh, that's good.
thank you for thank you for being on the show. So
Thanks for having
once again, yeah. I'm so glad we actually worked it out. We had so many
me.
technology
Made it with
problems. It was
Yay!
it was amazing. I was having a moment of like, I'm not really sure that this is going to happen. It's
We
good
got
that
it.
Leslie and I can just flow with whatever. Um,
Right.
and
And
once
how
again,
about
my name
you?
is Lori Beth, and yeah, I'll share a little bit about my offerings right now. But if you don't know me, I am a psychotherapist and a somatic and trauma healer and a women's empowerment and embodiment coach. So I'm combining many different hats that I wear. And the main program I'm doing right now is a 3, 6, or 9 month healing mentorship, and I with women, and I am combining all the work that I just said. I do really, I have my own way of doing somatic and trauma work, and it combines a lot of different methods and many, many years of experience of going. Actually, it's not doing the work that Leslie does because it's not hands-on or in any way, but it's really getting to the emotional root and uprooting that and really doing it slowly through the body, and also teaching you how to rewire your nervous system, like really learning your own nervous system so that you can really feel confident in being able to open to all different realms of feelings and, do the deep healing work that allows you to be in your full power and in, really kind of letting go of programming and conditioning, but in an experiential way that has kept you stuck so that you can really live the life and create the life that you most desire. So if you are interested in working with me, you can connect with me on Facebook. And I do a lot of writing as well, in addition to doing this show. So you can follow me, and I write about all kinds of different things like trauma and shadow work and depression and women and all kinds of things. So and this show meets weekly, so I will be back next week with another amazing, what do I want to say? Amazing presenter, I guess. Amazing person that I'm interviewing. So thank you again, Leslie. And
Thank you.
yeah, glad that we made
Yes,
this
I
work.
want to say I've been really just inspired by how you're willing to just put things out there and share with the world. And I know it takes courage to do it, and especially to get on and make videos all the time. Like, I'm totally scared of making videos, so good job. But I've been scoping out kind of what you've been posting and your podcast, and you've had a lot of great people on, and so I was really honored that you chose to interview me. So glad to be a part of it, and just keep sharing, keep
thank
putting
you.
it there.
Yeah. Feels really, thank you for saying that. And it feels really, I love supporting your work and other women doing just these incredible things in the world. And all of our work is really, contributing to so much more empowerment and embodiment and just really enjoying life more. So, yeah.
Yes, please.
And deep healing. Yeah. Okay. Thank you everyone for tuning in, and I will see you next week. Bye.
Bye.